What's going on, everybody? It's arraignment day in the United States for the former president of said States United, Donald Trump. This is the second arraignment, not the last. Mark my words. Lots to get into. We're going to go into the indictment, of course, of this latest round of crimes. So many crimes, 38 crimes to be exact, lots of prison time. And so, we'll get into all the juicy deets of the indictment that I hope some of you have read. If you haven't, I skimmed it, so don't worry. No, we're going to look at some things in that and break it all down. And then we're going to finally talk about the writer's strike. That's right. Hollywood going on strike. Hollywood is woke AF. Justin Halpern, showrunner of Abbott Elementary and creator of Harley Quinn on HBO Max, is going to be here later joining us. He's also on the board of directors of WGA, so he knows intimately what's going on, why we should all be concerned, why this writer's strike matters, why it means a lot, not just for the industry of television and film, but also so many other industries. So, we're 2 months into this, or almost 2 months into this writer's strike, and we all know that the actors as well, like the screen actors, have also voted to strike should they not reach a deal. So stakes are high, shit is getting real, and then we're gonna talk about aliens. All right, I want to believe. I wanted to believe that Agent Mulder would be into me as like a 13-year-old, even though that was weird. You know what I'm saying? He was hot. Then I grew up and learned he was kind of a weirdo too. Like wasn't David Duchovny like, oh, I'm addicted to sex? You're like, I'm pretty sure you're just like a famous guy, but okay. Anyway, like let's make space now for the sex addicts out there. Pour one out. Jealous. I'm kidding. But before we get into it, guys, I'm super happy to have you here. Make sure you're doing all the things. Make sure if you're listening as a podcast that you're giving this podcast 5 stars on iTunes right now, or wherever you're listening to it. Your reviews and your thoughts mean a lot. They help people discover this show. Also, if you're here on YouTube and Twitch, what up? Make sure you're a member. Make sure you're subscribing. Make sure you're liking the stream and sharing it, letting all the people know what you get down or up to on a Tuesday afternoon, or wherever and whenever you be watching. Whenever, wherever, we'll always watch the Bitchuation room. And if you are so inclined to become even sexier than you already are right now, you're going to want to become a patron. That's all I have to say. That's all. Like, what it unlocks for you in your life, in your personal life, in the political sphere, is treasures untold, truly. So patreon.com/bitchuation room. But hey, let's talk about those treasures. That is access to all of the bonus bishes. Now, I know you're saying, I don't want more news, Francesca. Well, here's the thing about bonus bishes, which are streaming every Friday, 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern, free for everybody to watch live, but only available to patrons as a listen back in their podcasts, as well as a watch back, which will be posted imminently, ideally within 24 hours. We don't always get there after the stream. You can also become a member on YouTube. It's a different show. It's chiller. We talk about things like, the underwear model who was also an insurrectionist on January 6th and was sentenced to over 2 years in prison. That was really fun. We actually, an addendum to last week's show with Nalini Stamp, where we talked about Cornel West and how he's kind of like veered into what territory, and with this presidential run as well, it's kind of like, okay. We meaning the chat, you all, us, the collective, the English we, the English us, read Cornel West's op-ed for the Wall Street Journal that he co-authored with like the head of some like classics fucking education nonprofit / like kind of a weird front group. Basically, you got to listen to this. Cornel West co-authored a Wall Street Journal op-ed that was basically like, Ron DeSantis is not taking away ethnic studies or erasing American history in colleges and universities in Florida. He's upholding the classics. Yeah, that's legit the take. So you need to read that. You need to listen to that. I'll give you my take on it, and we can just sort of get there together. So that was super fun on Friday. So patreon.com/bitchuation room, y'all. Don't sleep on it. There is merch discounts. There's access to all the backlogs of stuff. You get, we've done AMAs. We've done a little like looking at all my books back there that I haven't read in years. No, but there's been good shit. So support this show. I know times are tough, but anything you can give really helps. Truly, no, not hyperbole when I say actually makes this show possible. So thank you so much for becoming a patron. If you've become a patron and if $10 more, you get that shout out during the fart song. All right, without further ado, let's get into this. Oh, by the way, I'm supposed to mention the American Prospect. Yes, you get access to a American Prospect online, and then a steep discount of the paper version of the American Prospect, which I encourage. I love magazines. I'm a big magazine person. I mean, as long as they're like lefty progressive magazines. So I guess caveat, all of the magazines. Anyway, sometimes in the nail salon every like 6 months when I go, I'll read trash. And then I'll immediately want to light everything on fire. But anywho, I digress. Let's get into it. This is What Are You Bitching About? Okay, I have so many things and nothing at the same time, and I don't want to take up too much time. I very much have to say, this is not a ha moment for the East Coast. But given that the East Coast has been blanketed by like awful wildfire smoke for the last week, I think it's subsiding now. It helps me a little bit that like at least we in California have some allies over on the East Coast. And I hope we got allies now, because here's the thing about climate chaos. You see it elsewhere, but unless it's like literally in your backyard, you're like, like it's so easy to ignore. But then when in California, it's usually like a month out of the year where everything's just, the skies are dark, and not always, right? But in different regions, right? Whether it's up in like wine country or in San Francisco. I remember at like 2 p.m, it was like, it looked like it was, it looked like it was 7 p.m. in Blade Runner skies. Like that's what it was. But all to say, I have a lot of New York friends who have constantly and consistently told me like, oh, I love California. I would totally live in California, except for you've got wildfires. And I don't appreciate that. Here's why. I don't appreciate this. We can just move ourselves out of the climate chaos, path of destruction. Because guess what? It's not possible. It's coming for us no matter where we live, no matter how much money we make. You can't buy new skies yet. And we're in it. We're in it together. So all of you ta-ta New Yorkers, I'm not going to ta-ta you back. I'm going to say, welcome to the club of apocalyptic skies. I just did a secret handshake of people who, have to wear gas masks outside sometimes. So that's sort of what I'm bitching about, is that I will hope that I will not hear another word from those New Yorkers and elsewheres, people living elsewhere, about how California's all fucked, y'all. We know. Join us. Anyway, I don't have time to bitch about what I'll talk about this later. But with all that, let's bring him in. He's a union organizer. He is a dad. Blah blah blah. Who isn't? And he is a comedian, and he's wonderful, and he's kind of Instagram famous. No big deal. But please welcome Nato Green. Oh, Nato Green is not here. This is fun. Nato Green is off being a union organizer, so I'm alone. I've just decided to wake up and realize that Nato had to go do a job, but he'll be back. He'll be here very, very imminently. Before we welcome Nato into the stream, let's get into it, guys. Donald J. Trump has been arraigned. Oh, don't arraign on his parade. He's got his motorcade has arrived at the courthouse in Miami. I believe he's left at this point, but doesn't matter. He and his homie, his stooge, his poor sod who was trapped into his like shenanigans of these documents and all of the concealment of them. That dude and he have both pled not guilty. Yes, they're sticking together, bosom buddies till the end. When they break out of prison eventually, it'll be glorious. It'll be like Shawshank and they'll be standing in the rain. It'll be amazing. Although Trump will absolutely leave him behind. Trump will definitely turn on him if they go to jail together. But let's get into it, guys. So this all happened on Thursday. So it's felt like a long time, but this shit came at us really quick when it comes to these documents and the scandals, right? It was arguably the last crime that Trump committed. I mean, the last one that we know of, right? So he left office. He had done the Jan 6 crimes. Obviously, he had done the Stormy Daniels hush payment money crimes. What are the other crimes? Oh, the financial crimes associated with the Trump organization. All that stuff has already been done. Those are the crimes that he's actually being prosecuted for. And that are being investigated. Oh, the Georgia crimes, that's very important. You know, all I need is 11,000, or was it 7,000, 1,100 votes. So all that has happened. He was out. He was gone. And this was the crime that he did to his own goddamn self, which was, I'm gonna steal the stapler from my office. Now, that's sort of how most of us can relate, which is like, look, did I steal a labeler from Al Jazeera? Yeah, I did. Okay, guys, come get me. Come get me, AJ Plus. I dare you. I dare. It's great. It's a great labeler. All right, I owe you. If you're going to steal one thing, steal a labeler. But if you're going to be the former president, don't steal classified documents. Don't keep them in your home. Don't then hide them when you're subpoenaed by the Department of Justice, by the National Archives to get those documents. Then don't lie about how I gave you all the documents. Then don't lie about how you gave all the documents when you really didn't give all the documents because you had some super special documents that you wanted to save and keep. And then leading to an FBI raid that we saw not so long ago. So that is effectively what has happened, and there are consequences for doing all that. So the crimes, 37 counts, I believe maybe even 38, willful retention of national defense information, conspiracy to obstruct justice, withholding a document or a record, corruptly concealing a document or record, concealing a document in a federal investigation, scheming to conceal, and false statements and representations. Now, all of this, I think early on, which was like when these documents, we realized he had them, and there was a sense that maybe that would blow over because it was like, turns out Biden had documents. Oh, turns out that Pence had documents. Everybody's got documents. I'm glad that wasn't the case. I'm glad it was very clear. And this indictment by Special Prosecutor Jack Smith. Again, I talked about Jack Smith and how Tom Cruise will play him in the future. I talked about that on the bonus. This was basically like, I've lost. He knew that he was doing this. My mom brain will not let up. But anyway, so the question is, yeah. So they established that he knew. Because that was the whole thing. Was like, did he know that he couldn't do that? Can he say, "I'm sorry, officer, I didn't know I couldn't do that"? Like, are we using sort of the affluenza excuse? Is that going to be it? No, clearly not. Now, here's some choice moments from the indictment that they're so good. All right, so here we go. What kind of documents did he have stored in his boxes? My boxes, box hoax, all my boxes. The The classified documents in his boxes included information regarding defense and weapons capabilities of both the United States and foreign countries, United States nuclear programs, potential vulnerabilities of the United States and its allies to military attack, and plans for possible retaliation in response to a foreign attack. The unauthorized disclosure of these classified documents could put at risk the national security of the United States, foreign relations, the safety of the United States military, and human sources, and the continued viability of sensitive intelligence collection methods, which BT dubs. There were an unprecedented number of CIA assets murdered under Trump's watch. Coincidence? Probably not. But TBD on all that. So, okay, he had the good shit. That's what we call the good shit, all right? That's not cut with nothing. That's like the good docs, right? That's all the stuff you want that you're like, hey, I got all the pew-pews, you know? He wanted all the pew-pews. And he wanted it to, just like any man baby who's never been held accountable for anything and who thinks he can do whatever he wants, they were meant to just be show and tell items. It's his Nazi collection, for lack of a Nazi memorabilia collection, which we can't prove that he doesn't have. But that's what he wanted. He wanted to show them off. And effectively, in the indictment, it says that he did. In multiple instances, it talks about August or September 2021 at the Bedminster Club, Trump showed a representative of his political action committee who did not possess a security clearance a classified map related to a military operation and told the representative that he should not be showing it to the representative and the representative should not get too close. Stand back. Stand back. These are really good. Stand back. Like, I just like, don't get too good. It might explode. What kind of spy movie does he fucking think he's in? Yeah. But I have it. It's really cool. You can't touch it. This is how we collect Beanie Babies as kids. That's what fucking Trump did. He wanted all the Beanie Babies, all the Hot Wheels. You know what I'm saying? Yes, I'm dating myself. All the Pokemon. What do kids collect these days? All the pronouns. That's what kids collect. I'm sorry. Anyway, that's what he wanted. And he effectively did this show and tell, not only to that person from his pack, but there was an audio recorded meeting with a writer, a publisher, and 2 members of his staff, none of whom possessed a security clearance. And Trump showed and described a, quote, plan of attack that Trump said was prepared for him by the DOD and a senior military official. Trump told the individuals that the plan was highly confidential and secret. Trump also said, as president, I could have declassified it. Now I can't, but it's still a secret. Shh. It's still a secret. That legit verbatim, that is what he said, you guys. There's actual, it's a screenplay. There's actual back and forth here in this indictment. He says, let me show you an example. He said that I wanted to attack country A. Isn't it amazing? I have a big pile of papers and this thing just came up. Bullshit. I have a big pile of papers. Oh, look what was on top. Look at this. Oh, that was, a big, this was prepared for me because I was the president. I don't know if you know this, but for a short time, I was the president. I did things. I sat in a chair. You know what I mean? Like, that's his level. So the writer is like, this is the best part. The writer goes, wow. We looked at some. It was him. This was him. This wasn't done by me. This was him. All sorts of stuff. Pages long. Look. He's like, look at the DOD prepared this for me. Staffer. Trump. Wait a minute. Let's see here. Staffer. Yeah. I just found. Isn't that amazing? This totally wins my case, Like, what the fuck? What case? What is he talking about? Staffer. Trump. Except, it's highly confidential. Staffer, yeah. Trump, secret. This is secret information. Look at this. You attack. And by the way, isn't that incredible? Staffer, yeah. I was just thinking because we were talking about it. He said he wanted to attack country A. And what you did? This was done by the military and given to me. I think we can. I think we can probably, right? I don't know. We'll have to see. Yeah, we'll have to try to declassify it. Figure out figure out yeah. See, as president, I could have declassified it. Staffer, yeah. Trump, now I can't, but it's still a secret. Staffer, yeah. Now we have a problem. Isn't that interesting? I'm not sure if I'm doing the read on this right, but like the staffer seems incredibly uncomfortable, and the writer has said nothing. The writer just like stopped talking and was like, oh shit. Now he's just showing off like a plan of attack, some sort of, military retaliation that he wants to show off to both of these gentlemen. I'm assuming gentlemen. Now, when it comes to where he stored his documents, you guys, I really, you have to behold. There's the bathroom. Here's a bathroom. There's more documents apparently in the shower. There's a lot has been made of this bathroom. Sadly, does not have a gold toilet, but there's a chandelier. There's a chandelier. There, people have been clowning on the tension rod shower curtain. Here's the thing about a tension rod shower curtain. It truly is. It's a great invention. It's a great technology. Tension rods. Yeah. You want glass, blah, blah, blah. But like, he's not a real billionaire. You know what I'm saying? He's not in that much money. That's a guest bathroom. You put the tension rod in there. You put the tension rod, the documents don't care. Just some light bathroom reading while you're sitting there. It's nothing but it's mostly, this is just dad joke book humor, It's bathroom humor. Did you hear about the one where the Iranian nuclear scientist was actually assassinated by me and the country of Israel? Oops, I've said too much. So we did it in the bathroom with a classified document. We did it in the ballroom with a classified document. Da da da! Look at them. They're playing the piano. They're singing show tunes. Yada da. Russia attempted to hack the election in 2016. Ba 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 ba. India actually tried to sell nuclear weapons to Japan. Those kinds of show tunes. That's just whatever classified documents would sing. I assume that some of that is in there. What else? Aliens are real. I'm a little off key. Aliens are real. But they weren't taken care of always, guys. I don't know. You need to see this. This is all from the indictment, by the way. Here's a picture of a box down. If you are listening as a podcast, just think of a filing cabinet box, sort of one of those disposable ones that you get when you get fired from your job. And this one fell. This one apparently not enough space. There's a guitar behind there. There's probably there's some suits or maybe just some of Ivana Trump's clothes that they decided not to bury her in because they're too cheap and they wanted to sell it on eBay. There's just a spilled box of classified documents. Tight. So the other thing that we learned, and this is the best part, I think, about Jack Smith's indictment of Donald Trump is he explicitly outlines all the ways that Donald Trump railed against this very fucking thing, and it's what propelled him into the presidency, which was you cannot mishandle classified documents. And specifically when it came to Hillary Clinton. 2016 August, he stated, in my administration, I'm going to enforce all laws concerning the protection of classified information. No one will be above the law. September 2016. We also need to fight this battle by collecting intelligence and then protecting our classified secrets. We can't have someone in the Oval Office who doesn't understand the meaning of the word confidential or classified. On and on and on. The indictment lists all the times that he said this about Hillary Clinton, and including this time. Listen to this and tell me who this might remind you of right now.
This was not just extreme carelessness with classified material, which is still totally disqualifying. This is calculated, deliberate, premeditated misconduct, followed by a cover-up that included false statements and lies to Congress, the media, and the American people.
A much younger Trump, in fact. I watched that and I was like, what the? Oh, he looks sort of less like a burnt marshmallow, you know, and more like himself. So there he is. That was obviously in 2016. That's obviously about Hillary Clinton. Yeah. And he did exactly that. Lied, concealed, and people, there's jail time here. Now, whether he'll get the jail time is completely up to potentially a judge who he himself appointed. But you know, we could just imagine. So in terms of what happens next, there's some other good things here, but just a few before we talk about what happens next. A few other things I wanted to mention. Apparently, employees, and this is in the indictment, called the papers and the boxes his beautiful mind paper boxes. Just like, oh God, you can totally see him like Charlie from It's Always Sunny, you know, just like in a room putting up documents next to each other that have nothing to do with one another and just like, I need more string, you know, and he like thinks he sees something. He doesn't see anything. And then he'd like obviously charges Mar-a-Lago guests to come in and see his secret room. He also talked a lot about his boxes. He doesn't want anyone touching his boxes. He didn't even want lawyers touching his boxes. He said, quote, I don't want anybody looking through my boxes. I really don't. I know I am looking through my boxes. And then he says, well, what if and this is in reference to the subpoena from the DOJ, what happens if we just don't respond? Or we don't play ball with them? Just like, shh, nobody's home. Hoshu, 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 hoshu. Hoshu, hoshu. Are they gone? Not home. Like, what happens? Like, just don't answer the door. I'm away. You know, get one of those little "we'll be back" signs. We'll be back. Never. Like, it's so amazingly childish. Then he said, wouldn't it be better if we just told them we don't have anything here? And also, well, look, isn't it better if there are no documents? Oops. Check the fucking pipes, y'all. Two things. Check Ivana Trump's coffin, because you know something's in there. And number two, check the goddamn pipes at Mar-a-Lago, please. Because it's just so fun. Like, it's not the end of these crimes. All right, let's go to what the sentencing could be. Each count 1 through 31 actually has a maximum sentence of 10 years. 4 of them have a max of 20 years. Obviously, he's not going to get the max. He might not even get any prison time if he is convicted by a jury of his peers. Again, other rapey wannabe billionaires, which I'm assuming they'll stack the jury with. He can't even really find lawyers at this point. 2 of his lawyers have resigned. He has a lawyer standing in for him who is working on defending him in a different case today in Miami. And then there's this Trump judge. So this Trump appointed judge, Eileen Cannon, from the Federalist Society, grew up in Miami, but had only been practicing law for 12 years before Trump appointed her to be a federal judge. It's unclear whether she's going to stay on this case or not. So we shall see. But it'll be interesting. She may be it's like, I don't know. Apparently, we're not allowed to have cameras in there. The media isn't, because it's a federal court. And so all we get is artistic renditions, which I'm very excited for. But I also would like to see what is going on. So we don't have that photo that we got in New York. Final thing. He could still be elected president. In fact, those are the ways that he gets out of this. The only way is he gets elected president, or one of his, brown-nosing GOP, like MAGA stands, becomes president, i.e. Ron DeSantis, and pardons him. But this is going to play out for a long time. It's going to take a while. It's going to take another year. The election will probably happen before there is any conviction or sentencing in this trial, or if it even goes to trial. I don't know if he's going to plead guilty or not. There is a lot to go into, and hopefully we'll go into it maybe at the end of the show with Nato and get his thoughts on that. But that's what's happening. That's what's happening. Two things before we move into our next conversation, though. You got to know that some people are jumping ship on Donald Trump. So his former attorney general, who again covered for a lot of crimes, totally chill with the crimes, except for the last crime. He was like, do I have to? No, let's not overturn the election because you guys are going to fail. Is that a shield? Please. Here's Bill Barr speaking to actually Fox News about these indictments.
If even half of it is true, then he's toast. I mean, it's a very detailed indictment, and it's very, very damning. And this idea of presenting Trump as a victim here, a victim of a witch hunt, is ridiculous. Yes, he's been a victim in the past. Yes, his adversaries have obsessively pursued him with phony claims, and I've been at his side defending against them when he is a victim. But this is much different. He's not a victim here.
Yeah, he's been a terrible victim. You know, when he was working with the Russian government to try to win the election. Victim, just an incredible victim when he had to tear gas protesters in order to hold up a Bible. Just a victim. All the things that I ran cover for him on, but not going there on this one. And today you also saw Nikki Haley, you know, responding to the crimes. This one is so purely on him. It is so purely his fault. And the GOP, they could cut him loose. They could cut him loose right now, but they're scared because they don't want to lose the loyalty of Trump people, MAGA folks like this.
Because I did 19 years here as a federal agent in Dade County. I'm just not going to let this country go to waste. And right now it's going to waste. Well, if he gets indoctrinated, January 6th is going to look like a playground. It's going to look like a playground. From the inside voices that I hear from all the militias and everything else, it's going to be a playground. But if they want to fight, bring it.
Cool, bro. All right. Thanks for the interview. You go back and live your life. Oh my God. Follow him home, but don't. But do. But what? So that was someone responding. That was a MAGA Trump follower responding to the indoctrination. If Trump gets indoctrinated, it's January 6th is going to look like, what's it called when you eat outside in the grass? It's going to look like a barbecue, you know, like, how can people who are so violent and so racist and so armed to the teeth also be so dumb? We've armed the dumbest people. I don't believe in getting a gun, but if all the dum-dums have a gun, it's kind of an argument for the smart ones to get guns. All right? We'll go into that later. I would never actually buy a gun. I think that's ridiculous. I'd buy like a potato launcher. I think that'd be fun as fuck. I'd buy like a paintball gun. I guess that has a gun in it. Anyway, so that was Bill. That was the kinds of threats we're hearing. The kinds of threats that are being levied now at everyone outside of the courthouse. I have to share this incredible picture. If you're listening, it is someone holding, and I'm not joking, a straight up dead pig's head, just like, you know, with on a stick, with the American flag in its mouth. And this is, you're like, is this pro-Trump? Is this anti-Trump? This is a Trump protester. And my God, whoever this man is, I fucking love you forever, dog. You just brought a dead pig's head, like Trump's head, on a pike. You're my hero. I mean, sorry. Like that's just a beautiful, beautiful thing. Like imagine that thing just like follows him wherever he goes. Then you're dead pig head man. You just got to be that. You got to make shirts and stuff. You know, it's a whole branding thing. It's amazing. Anyway, final point. Kevin McCarthy, Speaker of the House, is one of the people defending Trump right now. Here he is being asked about documents being kept in a bathroom. This was his response.
Was that a good look for the former president to have boxes in a bathroom?
I don't know. Is it a good picture to have boxes in a garage that opens up all the time? A bathroom door locks.
I don't know. I mean, like, is it a good idea to put documents, papers in a binder? What about a folder? Folders are overrated. You know, wouldn't it be better to just have them in, I don't know, like a basket? Why don't we keep them in just like with like a woven basket? Doesn't that make more sense? Huh? Got you. Oh my God. So you're defending the bathroom reading documents by saying, no, it's worse to hold them in a garage. Who's holding them in the garage? Is this the National Archives that you're presuming hold them in a garage? I'm not even clear what he's talking about. But let's be real. My favorite part of that whole exchange is that she says, it's not a good look, right? She uses that turn of phrase. It's not a good look. And he, having never used that turn of phrase or not knowing how to, but sort of understanding it, says, I don't know. Is it a good picture to have documents in a garage? And that's the best part of that. I love it. Beyond him just standing and being Trump's complete and utter fucking servant. Like you could cut him loose. You could cut him loose right now. You got other people. They're way scarier than Trump. Cut him loose. You don't really need the militias, or do you need the militias? Anyway, TBD, so much to dig into. And with that, let's just move it along. Let's bring in oh, Paige is telling me Biden's documents were in a garage. Oh, come on. That's right. Biden's documents were in the garage. All right. Okay. So just kind of this whataboutism. But yeah. Anywho, all right, let's move on. I've got nothing. I've run out of steam, but my next guest hopefully has a lot of it. Hang on. Let me properly introduce him. He is an Emmy-nominated showrunner and executive producer through his company Delicious Non Sequitur Productions with an overall deal at Warner Brothers, who has created shows like HBO Max's Harley Quinn, 4 seasons and running, and he's also executive producer and showrunner on the Emmy Award-winning hit series Abbott Elementary. And finally, one more thing, he's the author of the New York Times bestselling book, Shit My Dad Says. Please welcome friend of the pod, Justin Halpern.
Hey.
Hi, Justin. How are you?
Good. I don't know if I can match your energy. I'm going to try.
You know what? Nato was supposed to be here, so I'm just trying to make up for. No, I actually should have brought it a lot farther down if Nato were on. But no, it's all good, Justin. I don't know where you keep all of your super top secret classified documents, or what you've kept from an old job. Justin, haven't we all kept something from a job before?
Yeah, I mean, isn't that
stolen, if you will?
I take snacks home at the end of every year of Abbott. I just go into the kitchen and grab the snacks I want, and then I take them home. Actually, I tell the writer's assistants to rob us fucking blind at the end of the year. I'm like, take all the food you can take, order some bunch of groceries right before our season ends, and then just take them all home.
That's sweet. See, that's real solidarity right there. Yeah, every time Matt comes back from being on Good Mythical Morning, there's always like the single Pop-Tarts, the ones that are just like in one little baggie.
Yeah, that's the good stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Single Pop-Tarts. And like a fruit by the foot. And I'm like, why? Who eats fruit what adult man? And that's the man I married, actually. My husband's the one adult man who still eats fruit roll-ups. But that's not what we're here, what we're talking about. But speaking of those writers' rooms, Justin, tell me about, we're in month 2 of the WGA strike. And you've seen an incredible amount of solidarity from folks whether it's Teamsters and truck drivers, whether it is people who work on sets like IATSE and the union of everyone who works on a set. I'm like, tell me what IATSE stands for.
It's basically everybody who works on a set.
Everyone who works on a set, exactly. And then who had already negotiated their agreements, their contract not so long ago, and then now actors who have voted to strike. SAG has voted to strike, but is unclear if they will go on strike. But just sort of like tell us, I don't know where we want to start. Tell us the why. Tell us the why of like what it is to actually be a writer on a show, and trying, as you have worked your way through the system, and how that system is now kind of letting a lot of writers down.
Yeah, I mean, when I first started, I joined the Guild in 2009. My first writing job was in 2009, and even then, which is I guess 14 years ago, if you were lucky enough to get on a show, you were going to work enough weeks so that even if you had trouble securing employment on your next show, you had enough money to kind of like float you to your next job. You were working enough weeks, you were being paid enough so that you could live in Los Angeles and try to do what is a highly competitive job. There are literally hundreds of thousands of people in just this city trying to do this job. And so that's how it was when I first broke in. If you were lucky enough to get in, then you were going to live a good life in Los Angeles. And then,
because the jobs they're not coming down the pike like crazy. You're going to be able to relax a little bit on like 1 or 2 jobs a year.
Yeah. Really 1 job a year. You were going to be able to live on 1 job a year because you were either doing 13 episodes or you were doing 22 episodes. And that meant you were working 32 weeks or you were working 44 weeks. Right. And at our rates on those number of weeks, you could live in Los Angeles comfortably.
Yeah.
It was a really good job. And then what happened was essentially Netflix began to change the model. Netflix decided, we're going to spend a ton of money on content. We're going to just get way over our skis on content. And we're going to build this platform where it's going to be so big that then once we've spent all this money on content, we're going to be able to have enough subscribers. It's all going to like come out in the wash and we're going to be highly profitable. I mean, you've heard this story in corporate America a million fucking times, right? It's like move fast, break things. And then, then worry about how you're going to monetize it later.
Right.
And everyone else started chasing that. Everyone thought that was the model. And then what began to happen was as there became more and more streaming services, they all needed more and more content. They all wanted less and less episodes per show. And so
why that though, Justin? Like, I don't understand why suddenly cut back the number of episodes per show because it's on streaming. Mm-hmm.
Because if you're doing 22 episodes of a show, that costs a lot of money. So that show better be hugely popular. But if you're just trying to figure out, I need new content every week, if I'm going to compete in the streaming wars, I need new shows to launch every week. I need several new shows to launch every week. And so instead of doing 22 episodes or even 13 episodes of a show, they're like, we're going to have 6 shows and they're all going to do 10 episodes.
Jesus.
And so what ended up happening was all these jobs that were, 32 weeks or 40 weeks, they started disappearing. And then the studios realized, well, we're spending way too much money on content. So we've got to figure out a way to reduce the amount of money we're spending on labor and still make the same amount of content. And so the invention of this thing called mini rooms started. And essentially what that was back in the day, the studios used to they'd buy a certain number of shows and then they'd have all those writers write a pilot script. And if they liked that pilot script, then they'd shoot that pilot. And then out of that batch of pilots that they chose to shoot, then they pick up some of them to series, right? And they decided, well, actually, then when they go to series, sometimes they fail. That's just the way of the business, right? They decided, well, a better way to do this would be to say, let's get as much data about these shows as possible. Let's have a writer come in, we'll buy their script, and then we'll tell them, we're not going to pick up your show to series and spend all this money. Instead, what we're going to do is we're going to have you and maybe like 2 or 3 other writers work for like 8 or 10 weeks. And you guys are going to break out the entire show and write a few episodes. And you're going to do it at guild minimum because you're not producing. So if you're not producing, we don't have to pay you your actual writer producer fee. We're going to pay you the smallest fee that is actually legally allowed in our business. For 10 weeks, you're going to do the most important work that is ever done on a television show, which is breaking the entire show.
Right.
And then we'll decide after that whether we even want the show to go to series. And if we do want it to go to series, well, thanks for writing half of it at guild minimum. Now we don't need any of you. We only need like 2 or 3 of you. And that's what's been happening in our business. So suddenly it takes 2 or 3 jobs a year
right,
for someone to make enough money to live in Los Angeles.
To do the hardest part of what otherwise would have been a 32-week job. Like you is it actually going from 32 weeks to 10 weeks?
In some cases, it's 6 weeks. In some cases, I've heard of like they have put together a minimum for 4 weeks and then 2 weeks. And
Jesus Christ!
So more and more and more, it's the classic story that's happening all over our country with labor, which is they realize at a certain point, all of these streamers realize that there's not an unlimited number of subscribers, and they had promised their stockholders that there would be. And so suddenly their stock has started to fall in certain places for certain companies. And it's all in an effort to juice their stock price. And so they realized, oh, well, then we're going to have to cut costs. We're going to have to cut where we can, and that's labor. So if we can trim labor, then we can show growth in other areas that aren't just subscriber base, and we can juice our stock prices.
Absolutely. And welcome Nato Green to the pod. Missed you in the first segment, but you're back. And the other thing they're doing, which is so sad, Netflix cracking down on like password sharing. So my mom's like, what's our Netflix? And I was like, there's no hour anymore, Mom. But yeah, it is interesting that it was just this like crazy overpromise of money making, and that streaming would make everyone rich, as if, I don't know, as if, I guess I'm trying to compare, like, and we can talk about the labor angle of this, but I just want to talk about like the money angle. What's making more? Aren't they making way more money now than they were before? Or
way more money. They're making way more money. In 2003, they had made a combined $5 billion in profits. This year, they're going to make around, and this is a quote unquote down year, they're going to make $28 billion in profits. They're still making insane amounts of money. And that's what we're saying is people sometimes look at what we're doing and they're like, oh, you're just trying to, get money where there isn't. And if you look at everything, every proposal we have, what we're saying is, if you're not making money on something, we're not asking for any money. But what we're saying is, if you're making money off of the product that we make, the only product that you have, we would like a percentage of that that's fair and equitable.
Yeah. Nato, we're just talking about, we're giving sort of the broad strokes of everything in terms of the strike and sort of what writers are asking for.
Yeah. Justin, what's the deal with capitalism? Hi, Justin. Good to see you. Sorry for crashing late. One of the things that's been so powerful about the current guild strike is sort of talking about how the spread of gig work is penetrating all areas of our lives. So can you talk about like sort of the human impacts on writers? I think there's a perception that, that entertainment is created by, trust fund, college educated Jews. And, some of my best friends and whatnot, but but some of us are also still struggling to make payments on our second home and whatnot. Can you talk about sort of how the shift towards gig work for writers, like what that's done to the average writer, as opposed to like the people, the handful of people who are at the top of the industry?
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, I would say for a large percentage of our guild now, they are having trouble putting together enough money to live in Los Angeles and not have to get a second job. There are so many of our writers now, and this was never the case. I mean, TV writing and screenwriting was, if you could get in, you were making a really good living. And now it's the case where I know so many writers who, I mean, my old assistant, she got a job on a show. She was staffed for 12 weeks. And then when that was over, she had to go back and get a writer's PA job because she didn't have enough money to float her to her next job. And she couldn't find another job quick enough writing. So she just went back and took another job. And she said, if I get another writing job, I'm not sure I can quit the job that I'm at for that job.
Mm-hmm.
So what's happening is, it's funny you bring up trust funds. It's like, if we don't fix this problem, the only people who are going to be able to work in the entertainment industry are people with rich parents.
Right.
Because they're the only ones who are going to be able to like just sit and write and not have to get another job while they wait the interminable amount of time it takes to get a job sometimes.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but in recent years, there's been a pretty profound push to like open up the doors to people of color and women and people from all kinds of different backgrounds to be able to have access to writing jobs that they didn't have access to because they didn't go to the same socialist summer camp in Wisconsin. Particularly around during the agency campaign a few years ago, like there was all these things around removing gatekeepers and that kind of stuff. So it almost seems like they want to ruin the jobs just as soon as people of color are showing up.
Right.
That's exactly right. And I think that's the thing I always say, like these studios have these programs to help out women and writers of color. And the best way to help out women and writers of color is to make it so that when they get a job, it pays them enough to stay in our industry. What we're seeing now is that just as we're starting to try to have people from minority groups become a part of this guild, they're washing out because they're not making enough money to live. And so if you're a studio and you are committed to helping women and writers of color, the best way to do that is to pay them a living wage.
Yeah. And it's worse because they want the stories, right? They want to have they're like, Black History Month stories like on the feed and the timeline and the Pride Month stuff. They want to leech off all like the experiences and the stories, but then underpay people or make it a precarious job and whatnot. Let's talk about like the quality, right? Let's talk about and the looming ChatGPT. What I did hear is that the Alliance of Motion Picture and Television Producers, AMPTP, that they were like, when it comes to AI, I think their deal and their offer to you all was, we'll just revisit it every year. We'll just talk about it every year. We'll chat. We'll have a check-in. Meanwhile, ChatGPT is like rapidly, just in the last 3 months, getting more and more robust. And I know people come down on different sides of like, oh, they could never do a Succession, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But some of the bullshit on these streaming services, you wonder, right? It is very, and I want to talk about unscripted in a little bit, but like they could absolutely replace some of that content with a bot. But what are your thoughts on that? And what is WGA saying on that?
So, yeah, I mean, what we're essentially saying is we will not allow writers to be replaced by what is essentially plagiarism, right? Like an AI doesn't create anything with any intent. An AI doesn't have a point of view. What an AI is doing is it's a mathematical formula, and it's giving us the average. You type in, I want a procedural about cops. It's going to give you the average of all of the work that's already been done before in that, right? And so, when their offer was, hey, let's talk about it every year, essentially that's saying to us like, hey, there's this giant fucking monster, and we promise for a year we won't attack you with it. But when it's way stronger and angrier in a year, then let's talk. And it's like, no. That's when you'll unleash it on us. So I think right now, like the concern is, they said to our negotiating chair and executive said to David Goodman, well, I don't know why you guys are worried about AI. You guys will write the good stuff and AI will write the bad stuff. And David's response, which is so funny, was like, a lot of us write the bad stuff.
Right. But let's be real, that you as these studio executives insist on dumbing down and only take chances on some of the lowest common denominator bullshit, like this is me just saying that, like, it's not the bad stuff is not coming because that's what the writers are pitching. It's what the studio execs are fucking,
Yeah, it's
signing
like
off on.
if they can use robots to cut their to make a similar amount of profit with worse quality,
right?
That's what they're going to do.
Well, that's all it is, really. It's just how do we further erode labor? How do we continue to make product for less and less and less money? And that's why there is we can't accept a conversation once a year. We can't accept good sort of their word that this is not going to replace this, because at every turn, as we've seen, data has shown that if they can find a place to cut a corner on how much they're spending and how much they're making, they will. And so I think for us, writers, it is hard to stare at a blank page and write something. It is not coal mining, but it is a difficult job. And what AI is doing is taking all of the things that writers have done over the many, many years that we've been working, all the times we've stared at a blank page, and essentially just ripping it off and repackaging it. And what we're saying is we're not going to allow that to replace what we do.
Yeah. And the things that I want to say also the things that, like, the fact that writing even has been a good job in Hollywood historically is thanks to the Writers Guild.
Yeah. Every time we have struck, we have won something incredibly important. I mean, 2007 that was the last time there was a writer's strike, and we were striking over coverage of the internet. And at the time, everyone was going at our leadership saying, this is bullshit. There are no shows on the fucking internet. What are we fighting for? What are you guys fighting for? Why are you holding up all Hollywood? And even for a couple of years afterwards, there weren't really any shows on streaming. Now, over 50% of the work we do is covered by that contract we won in 2007 to cover the internet. So I think that's when people say, like, well, AI is not doing anything right now. And I say to them, well, the internet wasn't, the streamers weren't everywhere and ubiquitous in 2007 either, but we saw what was coming.
Right.
I mean, I'm glad you brought that up, because I wanted to just ask if you could, if you have other reflections on what's changed between 2007. Like, what are the lessons learned that feel applicable to what you're facing now, and what are the things that feel like new conditions that you're facing now compared to what we dealt in 2007?
Well, I think one of the new conditions is that there are members of the AMPTP whose core business is not making TV shows and movies.
Right.
Like we're no longer, in 2007, we were negotiating against a group of studios, legacy studios, and their core business was making television and movies. And now there is the AMPTP has Amazon in it. It has Apple in it. It has Netflix in it. And so it's got a lot of tech companies in it, Apple and Amazon. This is like such a tiny, tiny percent of their business. And so if they're insisting on negotiating together, and it's funny because, those companies don't like each other. They don't want the other to succeed. They're all in competition with each other. But if they insist on negotiating together, then we're not going to give a deal based on their weakest members. We're holding them all accountable to this, And so that's one thing that's been really, really challenging.
They're behemoths. They're even more consolidated than they were in 2007, right? It's NBC, Universal, Time Warner, Discovery, fucking, like, they're even bigger than they were back then.
And they've merged, and it's an unwieldy group, I would say.
I mean, that is what's interesting about that to me. So, Justin, I'm a hybrid comedian and union negotiator. So I mostly don't deal with entertainment, but although I am negotiating over a radio station right now. But one of the sort of principles about union negotiations is that the employer side, even when you're dealing with a single employer, is never unified. And so it's both challenging that you have this diverse group and you have these giant mega mergers and these huge, corporations, and you're dealing with Amazon as well as, Time Warner, whatever. At the same time, it's also an opportunity because, their internal divisions and ultimately what will happen and the way that a resolution will occur is the internal tensions within the employer group will start to intensify, and people will turn on each other, and then that's when the contract will settle.
Pitting the elites against one another.
Right. Is at some point, and who knows which direction it'll break, but Apple is going to say, we don't care about Ted Lasso that much. This isn't our fight. Fuck you guys.
Yeah.
I was just going to say is I think that they're, what we're sort of hoping is that someone within that leadership, someone in the leadership of these companies is the one to realize we can't lose any more money. We can't lose this battle in terms of two of these other companies, and that we have to broker some sort of deal. Because what we're asking for is really not that much. We're asking for, we're actually not even asking, you asked me what's new. We're not asking for anything that's really new. We're asking for some protections we've had. And we're not even asking to turn the system back to the way that it was in 2009 and every order has to be 22 episodes. Like, we're not saying that. We're saying, give us back some of the things you've taken from us over the last 15 years.
Right. Yeah. And so does that, in terms of mini rooms, in terms of residuals, maybe you can talk a little bit about that, and then maybe talk about how much distance there is between, the AMPTP and the WGA.
Yeah. So honestly, on several of our core issues, I couldn't tell you what the distance is because they refused to counter. They literally just refused to engage with the proposal.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So as a negotiator, I would describe that as a distance of 100%.
Yeah. I would say currently that is a distance of 100%. And then on some of the things, for instance, like mini rooms, what we've said is if you're going to have a mini room, then there needs to be a huge premium paid to the writers who are working these much shorter orders.
Right. It should be more money, not less money.
Yeah, and so what they're offering is 5% above scale was the offer that they gave us, which is not anywhere near. It might as well be 100% difference. So I think it's the situation where they have not come back. The ball is in their court. They have not come back to the table. And so we took this labor action, and we're hopeful that they'll come back and engage on these proposals and actually negotiate with us.
I've been hearing that because it's streaming, unlike in 2007, there's not like an urgency, to fill a time slot like there was. Whereas now it's like, there's endless amounts of stuff because we've extracted all this labor from our amazingly talented writers for so many years. So that they're not feeling the squeeze, but at the same time, WGA members and allies have also blockaded productions, and Teamsters are on board. So, what is your sense in terms of that, like on the ground? Kind of, are they feeling the heat in terms of the labor action?
They've definitely felt the heat on productions that we've been able to shut down, and that is a huge. I just want to point out, like, the Teamsters and IATSE have been heroic in what they've done, because we're on it's not their strike, and they have said they will not cross picket lines, and they have been the ones who have shut down the shows, because when we picket in conjunction with them, then they don't cross our picket line, and that's how shows shut down. And Teamsters and IATSE are losing pay because of this. They are taking like the bravest stance you can take. They are supporting a fellow union in this labor action, and it is fucking heroic. Like the Teamsters and IATSE have gone so far above and beyond, and it was something that we didn't really have in 2007. That same sort of arrangement, and so this doesn't happen. We aren't able to hurt the studios in the way that we have been this time without the collaboration of the Teamsters and IATSE.
I mean, I'm sure this is going to be like. This might be too esoteric for the average Bitchuation listener, but you know, a year ago, IATSE almost went on strike and didn't, and I know that there was a lot of internal turmoil within the union about that. You know, I think that just as an observer, I think it's likely that there's going to be bylaw changes around how they handle ratifications, so that you know, I think there were enough members that felt like they got their legs cut out from under them in that contract fight, that residual appetite to struggle and to oppose the industry is sort of, you know, like the Writers Guild strike is their opportunity to have the fight that they didn't get to have last year.
Yeah.
Because it's existential for everybody.
It really is. I mean, it's happening in every sector of the business. It's happening everywhere. And I think that you're going to see my feeling, and I, you know, I could be wrong, but I do feel like the AMPTP sort of misread the moment of labor in this country.
Yes.
And I don't know that they thought that it was going to be the fight that it has become. Because I think in every industry, I think the heads of these companies are so detached from labor that I don't think they're really understanding what's happening on the ground.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you might have UPS workers go on strike this summer. It might be it's another hot labor summer.
And SAG voted. SAG-AFTRA voted.
And SAG voted.
Yeah, it's SAG has some major issues that they want to address, and I'm really proud of the way that they mobilized so quickly. You know, that's a guild of 160,000 people. The Writers Guild is a guild of 11,000 people. For them to be able to get a strike authorization vote at that high of a percentage with that turnout, that's going to absolutely make the MBTP shit their pants. I mean, that is an impressive thing that SAG did, and I think it's going to end up just paying giant dividends to their members. So I think it's amazing.
Yes, it really feels like a last stand. And the way I've kind of come into this is like, I do a lot of unscripted stuff, right? Like trying to sell myself as a host and whatnot. And like, I've even been pitching an unscripted show that is and this is what I want to get to. Even when something is unscripted, it's heavily scripted. So, and then the other thing that I do is internet content, and you know, I've worked for like AJ Plus and, you know, like online writing, which has never, with the exception, I believe Vice might have unionized with WGA, but they like writers are not, and a lot of journalists have not unionized, do not have unions, are not representative. You know, like if there's a strike against Zaslav in fucking CNN or Time Warner, like all the CNN reporters or the writers and whatnot, they're not unionized, you know? So it's interesting who, like, I feel like it's the rest of us are kind of turning heads and being like, oh, wow. Okay. You know, and I think it is also important to be like, unscripted shows are also heavily scripted. If you watch a reality show, you're like, oh yeah, that reality show is not scripted. No, it's fucking scripted. There's tons of writing that goes into an unscripted show. So all to say, if and when this is won, there's a lot more to come for.
I think so. I totally think so. And it's funny because, you know, now that Amazon and Apple are part of the AMPTP, it's like they have their own relationships with labor and unions.
Right.
You know, and I would think if I were them, if I were the AMPTP, I would probably not have wanted to kick this hornet's nest, because the effect of this, I think, will be you have 11,000 members whose whole job is writing and messaging and putting narratives out into the world.
Right.
That's what we've been doing for the last month and a half. And if you don't think that is having residual effects on other workers, labor in completely different parts of the country and parts of the world, you're mistaken. And I think that they essentially fucked with the wrong people.
I love it. Exactly. I mean, this is all about preventing the Amazonification of every single job, and including protecting Amazon workers from the greed of their own company as well. Justin Halpern, you're amazing. Thank you so much for joining us. Is there anything else you want to add? Any last? I think that was kind of a mic drop moment. You fuck with the wrong people.
No, I appreciate you having me on, and you know,
and people can join picket lines, right?
Yeah, we welcome anybody. Come out, support. Come out
There's
here.
snacks. There's individually wrapped Pop-Tarts. No, come out.
There are snacks. There's a ton of snacks.
I mean, as you know, for the listeners, I mean, occasionally, I mean, wherever you are in the country, there have been these like rolling picket lines to shut down productions and all over the place. And
Yes.
so, is there a place, Justin, where like the WJ is putting out word about like, oh, we heard about there's a production in, you know, Denver or whatever? How do they get the word out about calling people to those picket lines?
So there are, if you go onto the WJ website, there's a list of people you can email. One of them is for like what we call kind of like a rapid response team. And so if you sign up for that, you can email them. They'll find out where you are in the country. And then if we are organizing a picket in that area, like we've done some in New Mexico, we've done some in Atlanta, then if we have something, then we'll email. And that's actually some of the most satisfying picketing you can do, is like picket a production and actually shut that production down if the teams just aren't crossing the picket.
And if I wanted to say, just hypothetically, like bike lock myself to Ted Sarandos' bed, who would I talk to about that?
That one I can't weigh in on as a board member. You are going to be acting rogue. I do not support bike locking yourself to Ted Sarandos' bed.
I love it. Well,
it feels right.
We gotta get a pig head dude out there to put a pig head in the bed, or horse head, or whatever animals' heads. Okay, Justin, thanks so much for joining us. You take very good care. And Nato, I've got you on. My God, did you leave me in the worst moment? We talked all about the documents in the bathroom. Amazing, but you're so unfazed, like, because we're all just too obsessed with Trump, right? Here's what I want to say. Trump is the biggest. Trump's ruined my career. I will say that right now. Trump's absolutely ruined my fucking career, because nowadays, MSNBC, CNN, they don't have to actually buy any shows or make any shows with charming hosts that want to like travel the country and the world and talk about issues and learn about stuff. No, they can just fucking 24/7. Donald Trump is indicted on all of these crazy accounts. He keeps boxes in a goddamn bathroom and on a ballroom stage. Like, there's nothing. I can't be more entertaining than this MFer. And to quote you, Nato Green, as a comedian, as a political comedian, it is a work speed up to have Donald Trump even in existence, because he is a living and walking satire, and we could never write jokes this fast.
Yeah, I mean, look, how many times have you sat down to take a poo and wished you had better bathroom reading? And just wish that you had tactical maps of Libya close at hand?
I mean, pretty much every time. I'm like, yeah. I am like, this thing, the phone, not cutting it for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very exciting. Oh God. Ugh. But anyway, we have a final segment. This is a silly one, but let's just do it anyway. We are talking about, so we have our little, I don't know if we have it, but Nato, there's a whistleblower. There's an alien whistleblower. I don't know how you feel about aliens. I don't know where you come on which side you come down on the UFOs, the UADs, unidentified aerial.
You don't mean immigrants. You
drivers.
Mean...
Right. No, not those.
Open the borders.
Yeah, exactly. We don't. If they're from the sky, it's chill. So I'm gonna get into this because we've got there's some news. This homie talked to the debrief, which is, I don't know what the fuck the debrief is, but his name is David Charles Grush, 36 years old, decorated former combat officer in Afghanistan, veteran of the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency and the National Reconnaissance Office. He served as the Reconnaissance Office's representative to the Unidentified Aerial Phenomena, there you go, UAP, not D, Task Force from 2019 to 2021. From late 2021 to 2022, he was the NGA's co-lead for the UAP analysis and blah, 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 blah. He's got some credentials. He's been in the intelligence services for 14 years. And he's like, yo, there are aircraft that the United States has partially intact and fully intact. Now he's gone it on, and since this story broke, he has got said some other things. Here he says that he told a French newspaper that the U.S. had craft that were football field size and a Bell-like craft which Benito Mussolini's government had recovered in northern Italy in 1933. He also said that the U.S. has encountered, quote, malevolent alien pilots, not damn chill alien pilots, malevolent ones, which when I first heard this story, I was like, I think he's telling the truth. Holy shit. We've seen some of those videos, and now I think he might be cray. But I want to know if there are aliens, what do we want to ask them? Just one thing, maybe two, maybe just one. Well, this is, we want to believe. Tato, where do you come down on the alien talk? You believe this, dude?
Sure. I mean, it seems sure. Why not?
That's my favorite response of yours. Yeah. That's what like. What do you have to lose? But by the same token, why am I not a Christian who believes in heaven? Because it's like, yeah, what do you have to lose? And I'm like, I don't know, social opportunities with not weird people.
Yeah, I mean, it seems that the U.S. shaped like a bell. I don't know, man. Football's field size. Who fucking knows? But I believe that they're aliens and that something has landed. That seems that seems plausible to me.
Something's landed. I want to know from the aliens. First of all, how do they nurse their young? As a nursing mom, I'm like, is it easier with six titties? You know what I mean? But two, I want to know, is there a planet out there that is matriarchal? I want to know if there's a planet that is getting it right and women have control of everything. And then I want to compare that planet to this one and say, ha, 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 to all the misogynists online, because that planet undoubtedly is better.
So, nipples and matriarchy.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much.
Okay. I think what I want to know is if there's a planet where there's like more than one species that has evolved as like a intelligent, high functioning life form with social organizations. Because like in our science fiction, there's like each planet has its own thing. Like here's the planet of this.
Right.
And I always wonder, like, why can't there be
like a coexistence?
Like, yeah, why does it have to be one species per planet? Why can't there be a couple of smart species that are chilling on the same planet? So I'm curious about that.
Oh, that's a really good one. And are they chill with each other? They go to war. You can only imagine the latter. Right. But I also want to know, like, do they, to that point of species, do they keep any other species? Doesn't have to be intelligent, but as pets. Like, I want to know what their pets are like.
Yeah. And I mean, I can't think about this. So there's a Cuban sci-fi writer called Yoss, who I'm friends with, and he has a biology background, and so he puts a lot of thought into like the biological questions about these other species, and so there's also questions about like what are their kinks, like like how do they like to get freaky deaky.
Well, I did a whole bonus bish about animal clits. There's like some, so like not so like zoologist, I guess, biologist, who studies like whale clits. Apparently they're huge.
I got news for you. All clits are animal clits.
And with that, you guys, this has been the Bitchuation Room. That is the best line of the show. Everybody, thanks to Nato Green. Next time, buddy, you got to be on for longer.
I'm sorry. Yeah. See me in Albuquerque July 8th if you're in Albuquerque.
If you're in Albuquerque, go out to see Nato Green on July 8th. Take very good care, buddy. And thank you all for being here. Thank you for sticking around, and thank you for your super chats and just in general becoming members. John Winkler became a member. Thank you so much on YouTube. Marshall Ghetto on Twitch saying American Prospect is 100%. Jeff Curry pouring one out for the Unabomber. Yes, the Unabomber did die, as did Silvio Berlusconi, as did Cormac McCarthy. Obviously, only one of those are are actually sad about. Berlusconi, he had a heart attack on top of like some fucking sex worker who was like, thank God. Let's see. Willie Gus on Twitch says, this is the weirdest game of Clue when it comes to documents. Polygon, the Agent Orange did it in the ballroom with a foreign spy. David Hutchinson on YouTube, Mr. Trump in the bathroom with documents. I win Clue. Hoovian Scarf Dragon, Dog the Bounty Hunter really let himself go in reference to the dude threatening violence. Yeah, he really kind of did. Roscoe Muttley, you don't have to be in the car or on the way home after that head is in the sun for hours. Who's that in reference to? It'll come to me. Hef, thank you so much for your super chat saying that guy's definitely in a Trans Am blasting Molly Hatchet with his AR-15 dreaming of freeing Trump. Yeesh. Yes, the guy who was like, just wait, January 16th is going to look like a picnic. Matt Gates on White Fort Bronco became a member on YouTube. Thank you so much, Matt. Appreciate you. Best Pop-Tart 420 JR Man. I wouldn't know because I don't like Pop-Tarts. I am not a child. I'm sorry. If you hate me, that's fine. I stopped eating candy when I realized. I mean, I guess I sometimes eat candy, but I don't. I did. It's fine. We'll talk about it later. Matt Gates says, I feel for the writers, but imagine being on strike when Trump gets indicted and the day before his birthday. They're probably breaking their own fingers. It is his birthday. Oh, God. Oh, what a birthday. Happy birthday to you. Lauren Boebert's like, I'll jump out of a cake. He's like, no, thanks. Charm Chaos, when the writer's strike occurred back in early 2000s, it gave rise to the reality TV. I fear what this one will bring. I hope it brings me a goddamn show. No, I'm kidding. I hope it brings a fucking contract for the writers. And Charmed Chaos, when it comes to alien life forms, there is some Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy vibes here. And Terrence Trumbo says, I want to see some alien social media posts. They don't post. They just like skywrite. They just, we all need to watch Avatar. Obviously. And just a shout out to Urban Hermit over on Patreon. Says communicating with aliens is something to live for. That's true, man. I love me some communicating with aliens movies. Love Contact. Love the other one that wasn't Contact. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for everything. And with that, let's get the fart song going. Let's see if there are people to thank. Are there people to thank? Maybe. Thank you to the new patrons at $10 or more. There's no new patrons at $10 or more. We don't have any big tippers this week, but that's okay because I'm going over to Twitch. Thank you so much for Pontius Pirate for cheering 200 bits. Anonymous Gifter for giving 1 month tier 1 sub to the Polygon. That fart's for you. Thanks so much, Sparrow Artistry, for cheering 100 bits and for resubscribing for 1 month of tier 1. Subscribe for 2 months. Marshall Ghetto also gave out a 1 month tier 1 sub to Owen the Schmoopy Dragon. So nice of you. Billy B76 resubscribed for 1 month of tier 1. Subscribe for 3 months. Says thank you for being great. No, thank you. Marshall Ghetto also gave out another 2 more gift subs. Thank you. 3, 4. No. Marshall Ghetto gave out 14 gift subs. You gift from God, you. And thank you so much. And Hammer the C1G resubscribed for 1 month of tier 1. And Sparrow's Artistry, I think I already thanked you last time. But guys, I'll see you on Friday for the bonus bish. Thanks to Paige Omek, to Maximilian Inhofe, to Andy Vasoyan, our editor. We stream Tuesdays and Fridays, 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern. Follow us on all the socials at Franny Fio on Instagram and Twitter. And Bitchuation Pod on Twitter. At Franny Fio on TikTok and Instagram. Remember, fight the power. Fuck the patriarchy. Don't just bitch about it, be about it.